Hey there, welcome to this book launch livecast. This is a unique one for us because, well, I mean, you can tell, just look at all the faces here instead of just me or me and one author. So I'm Everett O'Keefe, the founder and CEO of Ignite Press. I have with us Kathy Fyock, book coach and book strategist extraordinaire. And we have Josh Cadillac, along with all of the authors of his book, Success for Life, The Entrepreneur's Odyssey, which is launching today. And Nolly's got fireworks going behind him. I don't know how he pulled that off, but that was super cool. You're gonna have to learn this trick, Nolly. Thank you. Well,
Secrets of Riverside.
that's it. See, that's the people who are pros here. This is fantastic. And Kathy, I'm really glad that you could join us today because you had such a hand in this book. I'm going to come to you in just a second before, right after I tell everybody, this amazing book is right now for sale on Amazon, where you can get the book. Actually, the Kindle is available for just 99 cents. You can find it on Amazon, or you can use this URL. And we will be excited to see how this all plays out over the time that is ahead of us. Well, Kathy, hey, coming to you first, congratulations on helping bring this book to this place, because we've talked about anthologies are like herding cats. And in this case, we got a bunch of tomcats that we've been working with. So congratulations. How's everything going for you and with this?
Yeah, no, it's been great to work with this team, and I'm so excited to see the book is available. So we've made it across the finish line, and it's very exciting. But no, I love working as a book coach and helping folks craft their chapter so that it positions them and their business in the best way. So so excited to be part of this.
Fantastic, and you've done great work. Now, by the way, anyone watching this live, feel free to put your comments, questions, etc., in the chat, and I can share them out here. Just super glad to have all of you here. So let's come to you, Josh. This is kind of your baby. I mean, um, you're our lead author here, and somehow you're connected to all of these authors as well. Tell us a little bit about your connection with these great authors. Let's start there.
Well, I mean, I think my presence in their lives is testament that every one of them slums it at times. They, all kidding aside, I've met all of these people are people that I've met in my life that have made a meaningful difference. The kind of people that I want to be around, the kind of people I want to do business with, and that I do business with. Because there's something about the way they do business that resonates. They do it what I'll call the right way, in a way that I think builds to a meaningful business, a success, not just a successful business, but a business that is meaningful, and that makes the world better that business exists, right? Every one of these guys in their own way makes people's lives better with what they do. It's not just a matter of making money, but they change lives, and that matters to me.
Well, I think we all appreciate that, and probably a fair number of us have been on your podcast at one point or another too, I'm guessing.
True story.
So love that. Now, Josh, let's get a bit into your journey. How did you wind up in this entrepreneurial world, this wild, crazy world that so many of us love and sometimes hate?
Um, I think that I cannot in any way help with the nature nurture argument on this because my father was an entrepreneur and I think I came with the bug. But even if I didn't, he was going to make sure I got it one way or the other. I've said many times my father was an amazing dad and a very tough boss. And I both, was his kid and also worked with him at times. And so a lot of that was foundational. And in fact, my chapter is largely based upon what I picked up from my father, because in my journey, of which for me is real estate, there were a lot of things I was told that would make me successful that actually, when I tried to implement those things, really was nothing more than fluff and ways for people to sell material to me. It was actually the lessons that I learned from my father of how business is done well and right. That is what wound up coming along and rescuing me when I had to. I was in a position where I had to make real estate work. And so those life lessons that I, didn't really know, I'd never seen them in practice, that they would take and pull you back up, actually served that role for me. And so I wanted to share that with people because I don't think it's stuff that we always talk about.
Well, we appreciate that you do. And tell us a little bit now. I mean, um, it seems like every time I'm reaching out for you, you are teaching. You are constantly teaching. So why don't you tell everybody a bit about what it is you do as far as your current business, and your teaching.
Well, I strive to grow up to be as cool as Craig because he's constantly teaching. In fact, we're the poster children for constantly teaching. It's the things we talk about are in demand, and that's really what it's all about, right? It's to take and put something out there that's helping enough people that people want more of it. And so, honestly, it's great advice that I got from Craig was part of it, but also, just really trying to take and give folks things that are not what they hear someplace else, and that has built out this teaching business, which I never intended I was just looking to be successful in real estate because that's what I needed to do, and I was. And then it was like, well, how do we take and turn this into something that's going to help these other folks who, like myself, so many of them desperately need to make this work, and there's so much misinformation in the way of them being able to do that. And so that's the what created this niche in which I occupy now and teach a couple hundred days a year.
Really, honestly, that's incredible. Tell me, in your book, you have this quote, and I love it. And I've never heard this quote. So, by the inch, it's a cinch, and by the yard, it's hard.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. No, there's many stories I could tell you of these very long and arduous projects that my father put me on as a young guy, where it just seemed like there was no end. And what you needed to learn to do was just focus on this one thing that was in front of you and just do that thing. And as it turns out, if you keep doing that and doing that with enough time, you hit the end and you didn't even realize you got there, right? Just focus on the thing that's in front of you. And I think for all of us, that's, I'd like to be the world's best negotiator, but I'm terrified of interactions. Well, what could I do today, the inch that I can move today, to be a little closer to that person that's a better negotiator? And that line, I think it's done so well in that movie, Any Given Sunday. You add up all those inches. It's the difference between winning and losing, right? To quote Mr. Al Pacino. So yeah, I think that's what I learned from my father. These very, oh my gosh. I mean, I think about this one tile floor we had to take up. It just didn't seem like it was ever going to come up. And I mean, we were just chipping away for hours nonstop. And you'd look back and you saw that you made a little progress, but when you looked up, there was so far still to go. But let me just take care of this tile in front of me, and then the next one, and then the next one. And that's just been so much a big reason for my success, Everett, is being able to take my mind off the big picture and just focus on the inch in front of me and trying to win that inch.
I think it's a great lesson and a valuable quote, and I'm glad you featured it in the book. So let's do this. I want to shift gears. I'm actually going to hit up your brother next. So Tim, I just want to, I don't know whether to say congratulations or condolences that your brother is Josh. I'm sure it's a little of both. I'm sure you have your own opinion you could express. Why don't you tell us a bit about your journey and lead us into your chapter as well?
Yeah, so I'm doing something a little different. Everybody else here is an entrepreneur, and they're focusing on, how to be successful in business. And for me, I went through a really, really difficult time throughout my life. I had 20 years of chronic illness, massive vertigo attacks. At one point, I remember being in an emergency room, throwing up 40 times in an hour, which, by the way, on the plus side is a great ab workout. Wow. Yeah, it's and I'm sitting there. I can't lift my head. I can't walk because I have no center of balance. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is what life is going to be like. And I can't remember. I was thinking 24, 25. And I'm not going to be able to hold a job. I'm not going to be able to get married. And so, eventually I did get a little bit better, but I still struggle with this illness for years and years and years. And, it made life really, really difficult. And the thing is, I was on this journey towards success, and I finally did reach some of the places I really wanted to get to, but I lost a little bit of myself along the way, and I had made some concessions that directly led to me being profoundly unhappy by the time I reached some of my biggest goals. And so those lessons learned, I wanted to share about that and talk about how I kind of hit rock bottom. And then I had to take stock and reevaluate everything. And despite the fact that I was going through one of the hardest times in my life when I reached rock bottom, I found principles actually through a recovery program, even though I didn't struggle with substance abuse, that really transformed my life and gave me the ability to recognize I could have been happy. I could have had peace all along the journey, because even though I'm going through something really hard right now, there are these core principles and these core ways of looking at life that can positively impact anybody. And I had found them through this recovery program. And I'm really excited about life. I'm really excited about the fact that I got to be part of this project. And I'm really excited about the fact that I have a perfectly shaped head, and Josh, he's like
Josh
most
doesn't. Is
non-bald
that where you're
people,
headed?
right? God decided to give those people hair.
Oh man, I love being a younger brother. I love seeing the back and forths. Hey, you had a quote in your chapter. You said, in fact, let me go to this layout here. You said, "Dreams achieved at the cost of the dreamer ultimately become nightmares." Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our dad was great. He taught us a lot of things, and for me, one of the biggest takeaways was you lower your head and you push through. And I was doing that for years, 60, 80-hour weeks all the time. And as it turns out, it's just not the answer to every problem. And one of the things that's really big is it just doesn't guarantee success. It doesn't. Outcomes are not guaranteed. And so for me, I held on to those outcomes. I had those expectations that life was supposed to, pay out eventually, and it didn't. And I started to realize, man, I really gotta hold outcomes with an open hand. I gotta stop evaluating my life in terms of, did I get everything done on my list today? Have I reached my goal and my pinnacle? But instead, was I faithful today? Did I turn in a good day? Right? Did I do the best I could with what I had? To go back to Josh's content, right? Did I move the inch? Right? And I just found that if I hold outcomes loosely and I just focus on my part, what I can control, I have a lot greater ability to have peace. And in particular, why am I going to carry a burden that I can't? Right? I can't make my outcomes happen. I cannot. They depend on other people. They depend on timing. They depend on a lot of things that are outside my control. And so I got to stay in my lane and do the good work in my lane, and then let the rest of the stuff take care of itself. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay, because you know what? My happy doesn't depend on that. My peace doesn't depend on that. It depends on the fact that I'm trying to be a good man who does good things and brings good into people's lives.
I think that's a super valuable lesson, especially among all of our, hard drivers, who some people are really great at setting goals and really pursue them tenaciously, and that has value, but the value is not all. That's not all that there is. So that's really fantastic. Tim, thank you so much for sharing. And people will be really interested, I think, to read your chapter in the book. Speaking of the book, just to remind you, this book is available now on Amazon, both in paperback and Kindle, where the Kindle is 99 cents. And pick that up. And this is a terrific book. Not only is it a great read, but it's also a great gift. So pick up a copy for you, but also some for others, especially for either the entrepreneur or the budding entrepreneur in your life. There's so many great life lessons here that have been learned the hard way, and so it's super important. Craig, let's come to you. I know we caught you driving down the highway, and
Yeah,
hopefully you can keep this all safe while we have this conversation. Tell us a bit about your background and your entrepreneurial journey.
sure. I mean, basically, I kind of like Josh mentioned how his father passed down entrepreneur to him. Mine was a little bit different. I was just born with the bug itself. So I was the kid that was selling lollipops at school to make money on the side, and lemonade stands, anything I could to hustle and make a buck. So I was always creating businesses from the time I was a kid. And as I got into the corporate world, again, I just couldn't be kind of constrained into the corporate structure. So I was always wanting to create new businesses. So I've kind of been doing that from day one. And kind of like Josh, I almost kind of stumbled or kind of faulted into being a speaker or a teacher within the real estate world. Because honestly, my original entry into it was teaching a class to almost sneaky sell a product that I had. Because I had started with a business that was selling websites and technology services to real estate agents. So, I built a class to kind of dovetail into that. So, again, I almost did it by accident, similar to Josh, but it's really become a very fulfilling business and life doing so because, I no longer try to sneaky sell a product. To me, it's all about being a servant and helping others, grow and, get over their fears and kind of really conquer whatever's happening in their life and business.
So, and you said something really interesting. You talk about sneaky sell versus serve. What
Yeah.
was there a time where you learned that lesson that helped bring that lesson to home?
Well, put it this way, even when I was doing the sneaky sell aspect, I really wasn't selling then either. I would basically teach a class all about how to build and run a great website and how to do SEO and online digital marketing and never even mention my company until the end when somebody be like, that I learned so much, I'd love to get a website. And I'd be like, okay, well, I can actually help you there. Right. So to me, I was never really hard selling. It was more about if I educate you enough about the topic, then you might be more interested in pursuing, the business on the side. So I didn't realize it, but I was really teaching the whole way. But then they got to the point where, again, I started branching into other subject matters, not just that tied back to my product, and really realized that's where my love and my passion was really teaching people and getting over their fear of technology. And that's kind of going back to the book. That's what my chapter is really about, is overcoming what I call a constant fear. Because the older we get in our lives, the more fearful we get of everything. Like we're afraid we're going to break things. We're afraid to try new things. So as somebody whose job literally is helping people overcome their fear, that's kind of what I really focus on is before I can educate you and help you in your life, we got to get you over whatever's holding you back.
In fact, you had a great quote. You said, "Fear isn't just a feeling, it's often a belief system we've unknowingly accepted as truth."
Yes. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I talk about how fear a lot of times is almost like a callus. It builds up over time, right? So you struggle a little bit, let's say, and again, I focus on technology. Let's say you struggle a little bit with technology, and then your kids pick on you, and then your coworkers pick on you, and it just becomes a hardened callus over time that you don't even realize is going on. And then you're completely afraid of trying the new shiny thing, whether it's AI or whatever it might be. Right. So it is to me, again, kind of like this constant fear that builds up. And again, to be able to overcome it, you got to crack through it and what's really holding you back, because it is kind of a systemic thing you buy into.
Well, I appreciate that. And I appreciate the work that you've been doing to educate people and to get them going. It's funny. I remember, when I was in my 20s, I was never afraid to click on a button on a piece of software. I
Right.
was like, oh, what's this do? Click. And now that I'm no longer in my 20s, I wonder if I hesitate a little bit more when it comes to that. But I'm gonna keep going at it. Don't I don't
Oh
want to
yeah,
become
no,
a
and
luddite.
I always use that analogy as an example because you give a kid a device or anything, they don't ask questions. They just click, click, click till they figure it out, right? You give that exact same tool to a senior person, and that's where the fear kicks in. They're afraid they're going to break it. They're afraid they're going to do something wrong. But kids have no fear because they haven't built up that fear over time.
Wow. Well, and they probably don't feel like they have as much to lose either, right? I think that's
That's it.
we're always cautious as we get older.
Hmm.
Thank you so much, Craig. I appreciate it, and I know that there's going to come a time on this call where you've got to go. So I just want to thank you for your participation in the book and your
Absolutely.
contribution to it. So
Thank you.
very good. Well, I'll tell you what, Nolly, you're there. You had fireworks going. I want to see those fireworks again. Can you do that again for me? I totally want to see those.
See if we can get it going. Hey,
Oh,
it won't do it.
you got hand gestures.
It's
That's
hand
good.
gestures that's supposed to do it, but there we
Oh,
go.
there we go. Oh my goodness, that's cool.
There it is. Yeah.
Very impressive. So, Nolly, why don't you tell us a bit about your entrepreneurial journey? How you kind of gotten to where you are? I know we'd love to hear that.
Well, I tell you, it pretty much any entrepreneur you're listen to me right now. You're an entrepreneur. You already know. We start pretty early, and it's just like some of the other guys have said. I know Craig mentioned as well. At 12 years old, I was selling newspapers door to door. I was selling candy in school. Anything that I could do to make money. I loved making money, and I didn't understand it at first. Where that was coming from, but it's just it's part of who we are, right? So I little by little I started. I would sell mixtapes, became like Scratchmaster K on the turntables.
No way.
I would take a tape. I'd buy a tape for 50 cents, right, or quarter, and then I'd sell them for $10. So anything that I could do, to make money. And by the time I turned 23, I started my first business. In fact, I have not had a W-2 in 32 years. So I'm 55 now. So I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12. And so I always tell people I've got over 40 years experience in sales, marketing, branding, and you name it. So yeah, and I love helping entrepreneurs succeed.
I guess it also means you've got 40 years of mistakes in there as well, right?
I'm telling you, my wife, I say my wife and I, but it's really me. Okay. I've been through foreclosure. I've had a house foreclosed. Okay. I've been through bankruptcy. I've had to short sell a home. I mean, I made my first $1 million when I was 29 years old, made $2 million that year. By the time I was 33, I was flat broke. So yes, I've been through the entrepreneurial journey. And what I love about this project, I'll just say, when Josh called me to be part of this, my wife and I were in Kauai, Hawaii, just hanging out. And I said, we love giving back. This is 9 of us coming together and giving like, hey, here's the one thing that we really want you to learn to get you through this journey more successful. I'm telling you, I'm learning so much from the book. So I'm excited about it.
Well, you bring that up, Nolly. That's really great because, what's one of the beautiful things about an anthology is, in this case, you're getting perspectives from 9 different people,
Yeah,
and their best. When you only have a chapter to do in a book, you got to bring it.
exactly.
And I know Kathy's worked with everybody here to make sure they bring it. And I love that. Now, in your chapter, one of the things you talk about is working in the ease and flow.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I wrote a book with McGraw-Hill called 3 Hours a Day. And in this book, okay, chapter 8, I talk about hone your superpower. And one of the quotes that I love is a quote, it's attributed to Albert Einstein, okay? I don't know if he's the one that came up with this, but he says, everyone is a genius, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life thinking that it's stupid. And, when I was 6, 7 years old, I had a speech impediment, okay? I had to go to speech therapy for a long time to be able to articulate, to speak, to say words. And my mom will remember. My mom's watching this right now. I couldn't talk. It sounded like I had marbles in my mouth. I overcame a lot of sort of limitations. Okay, and the reality is what I've learned as I've been coaching tens of thousands of entrepreneurs and business leaders and real estate agents is that when they lean into what their superpower really is, they really excel. And too many entrepreneurs are focused on what they're not good at instead of fully leaning into what they're great at and delegating everything else. Okay. And so that's really what I'm kind of breaking down in my chapter is in a nutshell. Still go read it though. Okay. But in a nutshell, that's really what it is. And I think the final thing I'll say on this is I've learned as an entrepreneur, we only ever have two problems in this business. In any business, you either don't have enough money or you don't have enough time. Many of us have made, making millions of dollars a year, whatever, but if we're working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, or you're starting a business and you just aren't making you got time, but you just aren't making the sales. And so really through delegation, it's like, okay, what are you great at? What is your genius? How can you lean into that? And then everything else, how can you get someone else to do it?
That is excellent. You're right. We too often try to fill in our blind spots, which is important, and improve the things that we're terrible at. But some of those things we're terrible at, we will never be good at. And yet, for maybe some relatively affordable fee, we can hire somebody who's like a phenom at that, and we'll do a better job than we ever will.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's administrative, clerical stuff, and it's like, hey, I'm the best at filing, or I'm the best at data entry. It's like, no. Hold on, you're really a genius at this. You need to be, and I love that about Josh, by the way, is that he found out that he is this guy is meticulous, okay, but he is a genius at getting up and presenting. And it's one of those things like, hey, if that's all I did, and I'm not going to delegate that, but if I had people to do everything else, then I can sort of live in that what I call the sweet spot. And it makes life, it makes everything else easier, and it makes it flow. So it's an easier journey.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nolly. Appreciate it. And I don't know if you saw, Susan said loves the fireworks. So I had to throw that back out there. All right, Jay, let's come to you. Let's talk about
you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
All right, so Jay, let's come to you next and tell us about your journey and how you've landed here.
Yeah, it's funny as I'm listening to. By the way, I'm honored to be with such a great crowd here, and Denali and Craig, and obviously Tim's journey, and Jeff. I'm waiting to hear yours, but this guy Josh Cadillac's a special guy, and my journey here definitely I would say is Josh is a big part of that. Josh and I we worked together. I would say through our mutual broker that we worked with. I was a lender, and when I one day was making a move and making my jump to take a risk, and in 2022, right when rates were making their big shift, I've always been, I would say my journey to entrepreneurship has been through leadership. I would love to say that I was the guy that built a business at 12, 13 years old in lemonade stands. I think mine was just taking the lead and people following and just putting my head down, blue collar. I come from a single mom, and I would sit down and say she was blue collar, and I just put that work ethic. And I'm the guy that, like Nolly, I wish I could say that I do the 3 hours. I definitely got to get your book, because I'm the 80, 90 hour type of guy. And just, putting that pressure and setting an example is just the way that I'm built. And when you talk about special powers, I think that falls into my special powers, just constant pressure and leading and using that as how I've led. And when I made a jump, I looked at Josh, and my guys would always, I would always use one-liners to remind my guys of the lessons, right? And in mortgages, there's a lot of lessons, right? There's a lot of mistakes. It's all mental at the end of the day. It's information. You don't sell anything tangible. It's, knowledge, experience, and trust is what you sell. So, so being with so many guys, and I would use these one-liners. One day I'm joke around, I'm going to write a book. So I look at Josh, and he started the coaching program, and I said, hey, you've written a book, you're coaching. I want to be I'll sign up. Thinking I was going to learn about writing a book, and it was 6 months of therapy, because when he talked about really kicking me in the face and holding me accountable to the mirror every week, I said, I'm going to do this, and maybe I didn't do what I said I was going to do, and I would say that after 6 months, I was like, listen, I've had enough. I've learned the lesson. I got to take it the rest of the way here. But it really, he helped, I would say, helped me quite a bit in this new journey of mine and to where I'm at now. So being here started with that conversation and really just, spending time with Josh. And we spent a lot of time still. We've, written a couple of helped him write a couple books for financing in the state and whatnot, some of the CEs, and we spent a lot of time together, and we see a what's the word I'm looking for? We see a consistency in our integrity, the way we approach things. When you talk about impacting people's lives, it's not about the money. It's really about making sure that whatever you do with an integrity, you do it the right way, and I think that's the best way to summarize my journey up to here.
And Jay, you titled your chapter, "I'd rather lose money than my reputation." Accountability isn't optional. Tell us a bit about that.
Mortgages. There's like I said, it's everyone's fear is that at the end of the day, numbers are going to change, right? So I think through that, through my almost 20 years in mortgages. One thing that I've always told my clients, I said, listen, I would rather lose money than my name. So if I tell you that these are the numbers, trust me, right? And I hate using the word trust me because, again, it's one of the, like, be honest, right? These typical lines. But in that aspect, that's the way that I bought their trust, right? And it's been like that. If after the end of the day something happens, it's outside my control and things happen, okay. But if I understand, from the relationships from my real estate partners, my clients, that relationships mean the most in my life. Not commissions come and go. One of my one-liners, right? And I forgot who says it, but make a commission, make a client, make a commission. You make a friend, you make a fortune. So I really abide by that, and I live by that. And so I'd rather lose money and do my job, and my reputation stays intact, and it'll circle around, and I know that I'll be taken care of in the future by doing the right thing.
That is fantastic, Jay. Thank you. Those really are words for all of us to live by. There is no doubt. And I'm going to guess that each person on this call has taken that lesson to heart at some point in their life to get to this point. Because I think going the other route, you become an island, right? You become an island. People won't trust you. They won't support you. They won't network with you. And then look at this. Look at all of us here together. It's fantastic. Well, Jeff, I'm going to bring it around to you. And thank you again for your participation in this anthology as well. I'm thrilled we got you. Having this little brief conversation with you, you sound like you've been pretty busy. So I'm really glad you're here. Why don't you tell us a bit about your journey?
I stay that way.
Tell us a bit about your journey, Jeff.
Well, I met Josh, I guess maybe 5 years ago on a podcast. And the one thing that I will say about Josh is an absolute, just by example, he is a master class in maintaining relationships. He will just randomly call me out of the blue. It'll be a 3-minute conversation. He's like, "Hey, brother, how you doing? Just wanted to reach out." He almost tells me Merry Christmas every year, or he probably has. I've met him before down in Miami, and he zigzagged around some tornadoes to get to me. But and when Josh called me and asked me about participating in the book, I was just thrilled to do it because I'll never forget when I sold my house in Tampa. Josh didn't have to do it, but boy, he really guided me through some things that ended up saving me a ton of money. So the guy just reeks of integrity. He really does, and that's why I was happy to do it for him. So
great. Now you've titled your chapter. Well, your chapter is about shutting up. And in fact, one of the quotes you gave here is knowing when to shut the hell up can fix just about everything. Man, I want to know about this. Tell everybody about this.
I believe that the greatest superpower anybody can harness is the ability to listen. Is to listen and ask questions, because especially now we are in a society to where everybody is walking out of their house with their hand on their sword, just ready to draw it, because everybody reacts to everything. People don't listen to understand, people only hear to respond. And a lot of that, when you start responding to everything you hear, you respond with emotions. And I think all of us would agree that every bad decision that any of us have ever made in our lives came from emotion. It didn't come from listening. And it's the ability to ask questions. And I had to really harness this power about 10 years ago when I got married to my second wife, who's from Russia. And if I didn't figure out a way to communicate with her real quick, that marriage was going to end as fast as it started. So I really had to hone in on truly listening to her, asking her questions to really, really, really help me understand her more, because it's so easy to have these fly off the handle comments. And especially when you're talking with someone who doesn't understand the English language, things can be taken the wrong way. It's the same as texting. Texting's the worst form of communication there is. But it helped me in my marriage, and I started teaching this to all of the people that work with us. And it really does make a big difference. And it is not a perfection. It's a practice, because even I still have a knee-jerk reaction to things, but I really try not to. But listening is the greatest superpower, I think, in my opinion, anyone can have.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, I can imagine, especially in the marriage, but also with our clients and our coworkers and our employees and the people that we communicate with. What a talk about developing a superpower. And going back to Nolly's point, where Nolly was talking about, let's play to our strengths. That might be one area that if we're weak, we really need to hone in on.
And it's the ability to ask questions and to stop and pause and ask questions. And I think this is a part of the chapter of the book. And that is to where this happened back in January when I turned 60. My wife threw this big surprise birthday party for me, and a guy that works with me, we've had this disagreement about business for a long time, and he was drunk. And at the party, he was telling me about all these things that he was going to do. And instead of me getting upset with him about it, I just started asking him questions. Oh, you're going to do that? Well, why don't you paint me a picture and tell me what that looks like? And he goes on, and in his drunkenness and me asking him questions, he gave me an exact blueprint of how he was going to screw me over. And that saved me a lot of money.
Wow. Wow. There's a real concrete example right there.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, Jeff, thank you again for your contribution to the book. And
thank you.
I think people will be excited to read your chapter. So we're coming toward the end here, and Kathy, I kind of want to spend a little bit of time with you here. And when we first started talking about this project, Josh told us he had these great, amazing guys that you had such incredible stories and things to share. Boy, he got that right, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And what I'm finding, though, as I work with more and more authors, is that so many of us do have a story to tell. And I think it's really important that we tell our stories. I think it's part of how we affirm our purpose, our calling, and by sharing our story and letting others learn from our mistakes or how we've dealt with adversity or whatever it might be is just one of the most significant things that we can do. It's a lasting way to share your voice and your thoughts with others. So I'm excited about this particular anthology, but I'm really excited anytime we get to hear real stories from real people about how we make the world a better place.
Well, thank you, Kathy. And you just reminded me, Jeff on his wall, and I'm going to show Jeff's camera again. Uh, Jeff, actually, Jeff, go ahead and talk for a little bit so the camera switches to you there. Actually, I'll just pin you. Hang on.
Oh, you can.
I can pin you.
What do you want to see?
That quote on your wall, it's not lonely at the top as long as you're helping others get there too. That's the whole purpose for this analogy or this anthology. And the whole purpose for, what I think is the greatest purpose for books in general is to help other people come along on the journey and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that we've made and learns from some of the wisdom, that's been developed over time.
I have a
Josh,
second quote that I put up there that you'll like. You can't see it. It says, "Success doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do consistently."
Yeah.
okay, and that folds right in with Josh's chapter 2, doesn't it?
Yes.
Where Josh talked about it's the inches. Keep doing the inches. Keep doing those things consistently. Josh, thank you again for bringing everybody here and doing this. And any final words from you with your cadre of accomplished, amazing people?
No, I just want to thank these guys for their contribution, and Everett, obviously, and Kathy, both of you, for your tremendous help in making this happen. The goal is that people's lives are changed for the better because of the efforts that we put in, the things that we do on a daily basis. And so, if this can help people to get to a place that they otherwise would have not gotten to or had a harder time getting to, then we've done something worthwhile here. And I think that's what we've put together.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Josh, Nolly, Tim, Jeff, Jay, Craig, and our other authors who couldn't be here today. And just remind everybody, go grab a copy of this, 99 cents on Amazon, and get a copy or two of the paperback to give to other people. I think that they will thank you for it. So much wisdom right here. Well, thank you, everybody. And just excited again. And we'll it's an exciting day with the book launch happening, and we get to see the results as they start to play out, and we'll of course keep you updated on that as the time goes on here. So thank you again, and appreciate you all. And that's the end of our live cast today. Kathy Fyock and Everett O'Keefe, thank you.
Thanks, guys.